What I'm excited about is the more we connect with him, the more we spend time with him, the more we find out that his mind is not hidden. That he gives us glimpses. He gives us insight. He opens up his mind. He says to us, behold, I've given you the mind of Christ that you might think my thoughts and know my ways. And there's nothing better in life than knowing what God is up to, so that when the rest of the world is surprised, you can stand there and say, I told you. I told you that. I told you he was going to answer by fire. I told you. You should have had your marshmallows ready. I told you rain was coming. You should have been on the boat. Now all you're doing is glub, and that's the last time I saw you. I told you God was going to feed everybody. Now look at you looking skinny when the rest of us is fat. That's your fault. I told you he was going. You have to know what God is going to do so you can be prepared and positioned. Preparation and positioning go hand in hand, and the only reason that we are not in position is that we're not prepared. But to be unprepared is to be living in doubt of what he said. Preparation means that you believe what he said was coming, therefore you took the necessary moments to do what was required in order to be ready. If you know snow is coming, put some salt out. I'm just saying, Atlanta. Just put some. How do you get on the news and say we didn't know it was coming? Al Roker said 2 weeks ago that the ice was going. Now that ain't even Jesus. That's just the guy on NBC. But he said that it was coming. You have to prepare according to the information that's given you. And God gives us the word. He says, know me in the counsel of my word. I am fully satisfying every part of your world if you'll prepare. Preparation leads to success every time. Do you know nothing is an emergency if you're prepared? So I'm always amazed at Christians who are living from one emergency to another. I'll talk slow. I'm not even going to make you think fast. I'll talk slow. I don't even want to hurt nobody. Nothing is an emergency. Because what happens is the more gravy you eat, the slower you talk. And so that's what happens to me. And what happens, and then you eat more butter and you speed up. And so God puts us in a place where we should know what's coming, so that nothing takes us by surprise, so that we're not living in a place of fear, doubt, or anxiety. He speaks that we might know, and we know that we might speak. So if you don't yet know what God is saying, you shouldn't be talking. Because you just add to the confusion. There's nothing worse than going to a Christian for an answer and they give you more doubt than you already had. Because what happens to us, it's like going to a doctor saying, doctor, I don't feel good. He looks at you and all he can say is, you do look bad. If I had what you had, I'd just lay down. I just dig a hole in my own yard and just get ready. I mean, you might as well tell your people bye. What good is it going to someone who should have knowledge that gives you help, and all they do is give you fear? And so we are they that have knowledge beyond this earth realm. We are those who have seen into the heavenly truth. We have seen God in his greatness, in his power. Salvation is the greatest miracle that any human could ever experience. Everything after that should be easy breezy. Now, not always simple, but clear. So there should be a clarity in us from the knowledge we have about the Almighty that allows us to speak to anybody and say, hold on, there is an answer. Don't panic. It's only a test. If the ship goes down, guess what? We can walk on water. You have to learn how not to let life mess up your faith. Because life comes to all men. Faith is what you do when life shows up. So we have to understand how to walk in this world unencumbered by what the world throws at you. Did you ever see, what was that game when we were little? That game where you had the big mallet in your hand and you had a little critters come up out the ground and you was trying to hit them. WhackaMole, WhackaMole, WhackaMole. I think some of us are living in seasons of WhackaMole. Because we spend our time waiting for the next thing to hit us in the head. And so we just stick our head out of our house long enough to find out if we're going to get hit again. We feel better in our bodies long enough to wait for the next sickness. I'm feeling good, but you know, this might get bad. I might start coughing and see, and I don't, and we wait. We build faith for bad. So that means we have a greater expectation for evil showing up than we do for deliverance. And somewhere we have to flip the switch. Turn this thing in the right direction. Get up out the water. You're drowning. You got to get out of water. You know you can't dry off till you get out of the water. And I'm amazed at how many of us are trying to have faith and we're still swimming in doubt. Got to dry off. Got to get out of it. Got to step onto the shore. Ooh. Are we having fun yet? Yeah. That's good. Because somewhere we have to choose to believe. We have to choose. And in choosing to believe, that belief moment is what unlocks a season of receptivity. Everything begins to move towards you. Years ago, the Lord said a phrase to me through a teacher who had been teaching me for 3.5 years. I was learning underneath him, and he was a phenomenal man of God. One of the few true apostles that I've met. A lot of folks taking titles now and they got no power. You got to watch folk who got titles and they got no power. That just makes me nervous. Makes me nervous. It's like somebody got a sign on their wall saying they're a doctor and they never been to school. You're not operating on me just because you got papers. You can get it later and you can like me now. And what happens is, we have to understand that God will always qualify where he anoints. There should be some proof of this thing. That's why I like hanging out with people who know the Lord. There's some proof on it. We should see something about you that looks like God. I think I said it before, but even if you can't walk on water, just stand in your tub and don't let your skin get shriveled. If you can't multiply fish and bread, just go to the grocery store on a good day and buy food cheap. Just show me you got faith for something. Just work your favor. Do something that looks like miraculous. You can't split the water, but just blow on your soup and see if you can part the bowl. Just do something. Just work this thing. Somehow, you ain't got to make the Israelites follow you, but see if you can get 5 cats to walk in a straight line. Just herd puppies. Do something. Make all the kittens just stand up, meow, at the same moment. Do something that looks like God. Because we're giving credit where there's no qualification. And we wonder why we don't see the power. I'm just saying. And so here's what I love. This old man of God said to me one day, we were sitting in prayer, it was a Saturday night, and he turned and he looked at me and he said, "Son, you have to know something." I said, "Yes, sir, what's that?" And he scared me half the time because he had more power than I had a cosmology for. I didn't understand God in the fullness of, much more of the fullness of what I understand him now. No man understands God in his fullness. Always understand that your theology will never be as big as God. So never let your theology control how you see God. Because if you now see him through the word, not your theology, because if you're not careful, you'll try to build a God that meets your theology rather than let God form your belief. And he turned and he looked at me, and this man used to scare me because he would walk into churches and just open his mouth and begin to speak, and people just start falling out. And we weren't used to that, about 30 years ago. I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to walking into a church and the man would go, "In Jesus' name," and people who didn't believe in the baptism start speaking in tongues. And I used to look at him and go, "You're not supposed to do that." And he would look at me and say, "Who taught you?" Because in my Bible, this is what they did. Isn't it amazing that you can read the same word and see different truth until the scales are gone? It's not until the oil, got to get your oil back. It's not until the oil hits the eyes that we see again. It's not until he says, buy salve for your eyes, he said in the book of Revelation. You have to buy, purchase. How do you purchase? You have to be willing to let go of what you were holding on to as your identity and say, God, this is how I see myself, but it's not about how I see me. I need to see you. So show me how to see you through the depth of your word. And suddenly he takes the scales off. He's bigger than we made him. He is big. He's the only one I know who's as big as the universe, and yet he ain't fat. Anybody that big should, have to be on a diet, but God's just huge. And God is so big that he's beyond our understanding, yet he's kind enough to give us wisdom. What a magnificent God we serve. So he turned and he looked at me and he said, if you will just learn to do whatever God is telling you to do at that moment, he will let you live in a rhythm of miracles that will take your life into a place of phenomenal breakthrough. That one statement changed me forever because I couldn't shake the thought, rhythm of miracles. What's a rhythm of miracles? How do you live in a rhythm of the miraculous? How do you get into a place where just like the beating of a drum, you can expect that tomorrow about this time, something else is going to happen? How do you get to the place where you begin to believe and to expect that next week, this time, he's going to do it again? How do you get to the place where you begin to believe that surely he will manifest himself in such a way that everybody's going to go, wow, one more time? It's living in a place where you are so convinced of who he is that he shows up just to keep you going, wow. Because he likes your wow. Your wow is your worship. Ooh. See, your wow is your worship. Your wow is the moment where everything within you goes into a place of awe. I am in awe of him. He is so magnificent that he takes my breath away. And he says to give you those moments of awe and divine inspiration where worship erupts from you like a volcano exploding into the atmosphere, where praise bubbles up out of you like an artesian well. I will cause you to see me in depths and moments that cause your world to be shocked and amazed, just so that you can turn around and say, oh, he's worthy. He is so amazing that he wants to keep you in a state of awe. He is all full of awe. God is awesome, all full, all inspiring, amazing. And those moments of awe, look at him. That's you again. You answered me. You helped me. You're amazing. Wow. What would it be like that every day of your life you have a moment in God where all you can do is, wow. That while you're driving your car, while you're eating your Cheerios, cornflakes is the best one with a little sugar and cut up a banana and put some strawberries on it. While you're having your moment with God, you have a wow, God. See, I believe God is more dedicated to giving you wow moments than you are to having them. And when your expectation finally reaches the level of his desire for you to have it, you and he will be locked in an embrace of impacting the world you live in. Because he will wrap himself around you just to manifest for you. And you are wrapped in him, which causes manifestations to happen. And now the two of you are in an embrace of supernatural release, where everyone sees you and says, surely they have been with Jesus. Who are these men? Who are these women that when they open their mouth, there's life coming out like a river? Who are these people that when I look in their eyes, my heart beats faster because I see a love coming out of them that is not born born on an earthly plane, but it comes from heaven itself, rushes through eternity, jumps out into the temporal, and pulls me into an eternal embrace with God. Who are these people that when they walk in the room, their mere presence changes atmospheres? Who are these people that when they say you will not die, you know that you will live? I need to know you because you know him. What is it like to live in the wow of God 24 hours a day? Oh, wow, Jesus. Whew. He's calling us to that place. To never again live in the mundanity of the normalcy of life as we know it, but to cause life to be challenged and changed and transformed by your walk with him, to let the very glory of God ooze out of your pores until you're dripping the honey of heaven. He wants you to be his expression in the earth. Wow, God. Woo-wee. Wow. Oh, those are the moments he calls us to. And never again should we expect less than that. You are not small. You are not unable. You are not impotent. You are not less than. You are called to walk in the wow of God. And just because you're a human makes you part of that party. For he died for us all. His death makes you eligible. You're receiving that death. Salvation makes you a carrier of glory in earthen vessels. And everywhere you go, some glory should just drip out. There should be a trail of glory where you go. People should just get better because you show up. People should be happy when you come and weep when you leave. Except for the religious. They should be mad when you show up and glad when you go. You ought to have enough Jesus in you that you make some people happy and some people mad. And you've got to learn how to enjoy both realities. I love making God's people happy, and I love making the religious folk mad. I don't lose no sleep over nobody who don't like Jesus no way. That's right. You'll get it in the morning. You have to learn how to be free in the expression of glory you carry. I love that. I think it's Jason Upton. Freedom reigns in this place. Showers of mercy and grace falling on every face. There is freedom. There's a moment when you have to know you carry freedom. You carry emancipation. You carry the opening of doors. That's in you. You are a liberator. So why? Here's my question. Then we're going to shift to there's some Holy Spirit stuff we're going to do. There's some fun stuff. We're going to do some stuff tonight. But there comes a moment when you have to ask yourself, if you were made to carry keys, why are you praying about doors? Just giving you a moment to think. Just. You have to ask yourself, why are we letting cartoon characters of reality manipulate our future? People who are pretending to have power and don't. Who regulate how much we can worship and minimize who he really is in reality. And they get in our faces and tell us that's not the way you should do it. It doesn't take all that. Restrain yourself. Don't go there. Well, now, if you can't set me free, you not even on my call list. So why are we praying about doors when you carry keys? He made this statement that I cannot shake, nor will I try to get away from. He says about the lawyers, weep and howl, you lawyers. we have us a problem. Now, he wasn't talking about lawyers necessarily as a profession as much as he was as a problem. The problem of those who, and for those of you who are lawyers, we'll pray for you after church. That's a joke. I have no problem with lawyers. Some of y'all right now are texting, he said, that's the Jesus said it first. And what the Lord said was, he said, now, you lawyers, we have us a problem. You religious organizations, we have problems because I've given you the keys. You had the keys for the people to enter into freedom. And not only would you not go in, but you refused to let the people go in. So you who studied, what was the key? He was talking about the scrolls, the knowledge of God. So I have given you my word. I have given you the truth. Where the people don't understand what the word is saying, you have lived your life studying the word, but you studied it just to tell other people that they don't qualify. So my problem is that you have studied enough to become wise enough to be religious. So now your religion keeps you from entering, but your arrogance makes you keep other people out. We have entered a day where we have to break past all religious structures and shake off all arrogant mindsets and humble ourselves and get back into a place of simply saying, if he said it's ours, then it belongs to us. If he gave us entrance, then we must walk in it. If he said receive it, then open wide your arms. He said, I gave you the keys and you refused to enter in. Then Jesus turns around and says later, now I have the keys of the kingdom. Got them. Holding them. Then he turns around and says, now I give you power. Peter, upon this rock of what? Revelation, you've foreseen something through the voice of the Lord in your spirit. My Father revealed this to you. It was not flesh and blood. So you've caught a hold of something through a revelation that has given you insight into another dimension. What you saw was not earthborn, but heaven sent. You see something that is supernatural, and the power of what you've seen has qualified you to step beyond your limitations and walk in your true destiny. Now I'm calling you to be something to the church. He's given us the keys. Every revelation God has unlocked in your spirit is a key to your destiny. But you have to take it as a key and not keep praying about a door. He gave you a key for healing. Some of you, God has been talking to you about divine healing for some time. God has been showing you what to do. God's waking some of you up at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's your key. But you roll over and go back to bed. Now you're praying about doors being opened when if you would get up at 3, you could unlock the door. God has given some of us keys. He tells us to go back and apologize to some family members that we want to strangle. And we're praying for God to send revival in our families when God says you don't need revival, you just need to humble yourself. So the key is humility. You're praying about God send a move into my family. God says the move is you going lower. But they were wrong. He knows. They're crazy. Yep, baby. Well, Lord, they're not even saved. They might smell like a burnt chiclet on the way to hell. It don't matter. The Lord told you to humble yourself. Why? Because what I have discovered is humility is the greatest entrance to salvation. Because Jesus made himself of no reputation. And he went to the cross dying for people who hated him. Now, if he died for those who hated him, how could we not humble ourselves for people we love? I'm just asking. Somewhere we have to stop praying about doors when he's already given us keys. I was praying for a woman the other day, and in the midst of praying for her, she looked at me and she said, I need a word from the Lord. I need a word. And she was all dramatic in front of the church, and she kept saying, I need a word. And there's a few hundred people there, and I'm getting ready to pray for her and press into God for a word, and I prophesied over about 40-some folks. And so, once you prophesy over a few people, it's just like the trigger gets going. You just in the flow. You get in the flow. It's just You start seeing the color of people's shoes back at their house. You just God unlocked stuff. Now, some of y'all laughing. For me, that's actually what starts to happen. He starts letting me see inside people's homes. And so I had to stop because God was giving me stuff. And I turned and looked at her, and the Lord said, I have no word for her. And I thought, well, we have us a problem. Because we had liftoff until this moment. And now the plane just landed, and I don't know what to do because this was an unexpected occasion. We ran out of oil in mid-flight. Poof. And I'm looking at her. I said, I got nothing for you, baby. I said, I don't know what to tell you. So now she's looking at me. She said, but I need a word. She's getting louder, and now everybody's looking at me as though, well, your anointing is off. Because you had a word for everybody else. Why don't you have a word for her? And I said, I don't think you want me to ask God again. She said, yes, I do. I said, okay. Lord, hey, I'm just saying. Some of this is just a story. Some of it is information so that some of you don't ask me twice for a word you really don't want. Because this has happened more than a few times. I said, okay, Lord, she's asked publicly, so I'm asking you publicly. She said there is a word for her. The Lord said, tell her the word is the same thing I said to her 3 months ago when she disobeyed me is what I'm requiring of her. I'll say nothing more till she goes back and obeys me. I said, that's the word. I gave her the word. She put her head down, walked back to her seat. I said, was the word accurate? She said, I'm not talking to you. I said, well, I guess the word was accurate. I'm amazed at how we keep inquiring of God when he's already told us what to do. How simple would life be if we just did what he's told us? He gave you keys. Stop praying about doors. You are door openers. David said, I'd rather be the keeper of the door. What does it mean to keep the door? We're almost done. Can I share this part? See, to keep the door means that you have access to 2 dimensions at one time. The keeper of the door looks into the temple and looks out at the people. The keeper of the door understands the temperature in the house and the temperature outside the house. The keeper of the door can hear the worship on the inside and the complaining outside. The keeper of the door sees the condition of the priest and the condition of the people. The keeper of the door understands what's going on with the worship and hears the power of the worrying. The keeper of the door is caught between 2 dimensions. He helps usher back to the people the atmosphere in the house and usher the people into the atmosphere that is inside. He is the pivot point. God has called you to be the pivot of people's lives, to swing them into his presence when they are caught up in the world, and to swing the glory of the house back out to the people to make them hungry again. You should be so busy being the hinge of their reality that you never get caught up in their own issues. You are a key. You're a keeper of the door. What would happen if we stopped getting focused on silly stuff and just usher people into glory moments? Just let's go in. Let's go in. Let's go into where he is. Let's see him again. We were the other day having a meeting, all of the leaders together, and we were discussing something that needed to be done. And we were doing what happens when most church leaders get together. We were discussing stuff with really no anointing. It's just... You get a lot of folks together who know a lot about God, and we have a lot of opinions based on our experience, and then God just says, I'll visit when you get tired of talking. That's what he did for the disciples. He said, I'll just let y'all talk about me being dead until you get tired of talking about it, because I keep showing myself to you and you keep not believing I'm alive. The angel said he's alive. No, he's not alive. He's dead. We didn't see him get up. He meets them on the road to Emmaus. They go in. No, he's not alive. God keeps having to show up in rooms for people who already heard him talk for 3.5 years. When are we going to get to the place where we don't need him to show up to prove himself, but we show up and prove him? Woo. Oh, this is good stuff. I'm telling you, I'm going to listen to this myself later on. I'm going to just... I'm going to be listening to Reno Outpouring on YouTube. I'm going to be clicking there going, that black man can teach. That boy right there, look at her, look at her, look at that. Eating my jelly beans. Somebody gave me jelly beans tonight. Gave me it was 15 pounds of jelly beans. That's a whole lot of jelly beans, but I'm going to eat them jelly beans later. And I might share them. I'll probably share them. I'll be biblical because I was told that I needed to divide them up among the people. So I'll do that. It's always good for somebody to tell you what to do with the blessing they give you. So I will share the jelly beans. I'm just saying. It's really a blessing if it's got strings on it. And what happens is we have to give it away. So last night we talked about oil. Tonight what we're really talking about is what becomes of you when you let oil flow. You become a key. You become a hinge. You become a pivot point. I know in this room there is a myriad of stories of things you could stand up and tell about how God has used you to answer other people's cry. I pray in each one of your lives you have a list of times when God has used you expectedly and unexpectedly to release his presence, his power, and his glory, to show forth his name and his nature, that people who are absolutely at the end of hope again because of you. For that is who we are called to be. And that is what you are called to do. To spend your life showing people he's real. There is no better life than that. Anything less than that is boring. And whatever he's called you to do, you can do that without becoming something else. So if he's called you to business, stay in business, but release the glory. If you're a teacher, teach, but release the glory in your classroom. If you're a cook, cook, but please put the glory on your food. Don't serve no food that ain't got no glory. I'm just saying. Please, I've had some food didn't have no glory on it. Lord have mercy. It's like eating a hobbit foot. It's just awful. You have to let the glory of God show up in everything you do. We went to sushi today, the pier. What is it called? Sushi pier. Hey! And I want you to know the Lord lives in that place. I'm just saying, if you ain't never met Jesus and you're looking for him tonight, go to sushi pier. You will meet the Lord in all his glory. I think he was standing outside with a white robe on. I really did. He was standing there. I saw him. He had oil in his hand. It was wonderful. And here's what happened. It's a joke. And here's what happens is that the Lord is calling us to become carriers of glory. And so we're going to take a couple of minutes and we're going to talk about releasing glory. There's a couple of y'all in here that God has given some miracles to. But specifically, there's a few of you. I want you to get ready because I'm going to call you up. Dawn, I want you to come up and share what the Lord did for you. And some of you who the Lord has healed you, is the sister here that got healed of the allergies? Yes, ma'am. So Dawn, come on.